Chapter 2. Qualities of Friendship. The love of friendship is, as we have seen, a free and voluntary donation of self to another, but once made, it becomes a kind of bondage. It then forswears liberty, would have none of it, and desires only to draw closer the fetters and chains that hold it without power to break them. Whence springs this sudden change, this desire of servitude? The theologian Viva tells us that it arises from the mutual donation of friends, whereby each pledges to the other a permanent and irrevocable love. What is given without the intention of recall, neither belongs any longer entirely to himself, nor retains the right to manifest or withhold his affection at pleasure. The friend signs away his freedom, becomes a willing slave, and by withdrawing from his other self the affection which is his due, he would break a mutual and sacred compact, incur the reproach of being faithless and untrue. He who, wearying of friendship's bond, loosens or breaks it, becomes at once the scorn of the tribe. True friends would be such forever and a day. They cannot be parted save by a riving of the soul, which many moons indeed may sear, but never heal without leaving a scar. And when a friend deeds himself to another, he makes no reserves. Everything goes with self, hand as well as heart, and possessions too, as the wrapper with the parcel. All things are common between friends, was a discovery of the old Greek sage Diogenes, if indeed he did not find it established as a truism in the social circle of his time. Could one who has free entry into the heart be denied admission into a house of wood or stone? Who gives the greater thereby includes the lesser. And surely the body is more than the raiment, the love of the giver than the gift of the lover. Shakespeare, repeating Plautus, said, "What's mine is yours, and what's yours is mine." And so too have devoted lovers ever said, since friendship true, like Prometheus' fire, found its way to earth, and so too will they ever say as long as its glowing torch continues to light and warm mortal hearts. Being essentially a donation, friendship can never cease to give, or at least to desire to give. Presents and tokens of some kind ever accompany it, and these are prized not for what they are, but because they are freighted with the fragrance of the heart which bestowed them. Empty sentiment, one will say, and yet sentiment ever clings round the human affections like the ivy round the tower of the perfume to the rose. Though like all genuine things, it may have its counterfeit. Simple natures have most of true sentiment. Saint Gertrude felt an attachment to the very tablet she wrote upon. The gentle saint of Assisi gathered up torn pieces of manuscript that he found along the roadside because they were traced with markings of thought, God's spiritual gift to man. What was it that led Jonathan to strip himself of coat and garments, even to his sword and belt and girdle, and give them to David? Would anyone affirm it was false sentiment that caused blessed Edmund Campion, than whom a truer or braver knight never took life in his hands, to exchange hats with Father Persons at their last meeting on earth? For sentiment of some kind it certainly was, and to it we owe the only relic of the martyr that escaped the rage of his truculent executioners. Is it empty sentiment in the soldier to salute the flag, to wish to die facing the foe? Is the religious who kisses his habit on putting it on or off a mere sentimentalist? In fact, we fear that Mother Church indulges in something very like sentiment in the treatment she accords to the relics of her saints. Nothing that belonged to them, bone or ribbon or ashes, raveled thread of their garments, book or scrap of paper, escapes her loving search, and what she finds she preserves in precious reliquary or guards as a jealous custodian. The generous heart then must give, for it knows that it is more blessed to give than to receive. Not indeed that it calculates in its gratuities, or hopes for a return of the bread it casts upon the waters. Nay, self has no place in its thoughts. It gives from the mere joy of giving, desiring to strip itself of what it has for the sake of another. Amongst the possessions shared in by friends are joy and sorrow. It is a matter of everyday experience that the sympathy of another is a great solace in grief, while the one who has received joyful news wishes everyone to hear it. So it was in the time of our Lord, who describes the woman that had lost her groat as lighting her candle and sweeping out the dark corners of the dwelling until she found it, when she called together her neighbors and bade them share her joy. And St. Paul gives as a sign of love without dissimulation that it makes us rejoice with them that rejoice, and weep with them that weep. A further possession most jealously guarded by men, double locked and bolted within the heart, are secrets. These we regard as sacred, almost as a part of our personality, and we dread to have them exposed to a cold and unsympathetic gaze. While concealing them so carefully, we have at the same time an almost irresistible inclination to disclose them to one we trust and confide in. They are like a hidden fire within, burning and consuming until they are released. And so when crushed under the burden of a secret too heavy to bear alone, we are bound perforce to ask another to help us carry it. A friend is the natural depository of such a disclosure, whence arises the common saying, "There are no secrets between friends." It follows, too, from the nature of friendship, according to the opinion of St. Thomas, that friends are impelled to seek each other's company, for the heart desires the presence of the object it loves. Flowers turn and climb to the light, and friendship is best content when basking in the sunshine of the friend's countenance. It is but pain and duress, said Buddha, to be separated from what we love. Yet almost irresistibly, as one is drawn to the presence and conversation of a friend, this propensity does not constitute the essence of friendship, which is rather to rest in the well-being of another. But it follows the essence as the shadow the substance, as the caresses of a mother accompany her loving care and solicitude for her child. And finally, it is characteristic of friendship to make, and wish to make, sacrifices for another. Sunshine friendship, the idle sport of a summer day, endures only so long as it is pleasant and agreeable, and cannot weather the storms of adversity. When the halcyon days of prosperity are gone, and dark clouds shut in the horizon of the soul, and chilling blasts freeze the heart, then is the time when the cheer and warmth of friendship are needed most. To love as long as convenient is but another name for selfishness. But to come to the assistance of another when it means the sacrifice of ease and comfort, the risking of property, and the braving of the world's obloquy, this is the part of friendship, loyal and true. The inspired writer tells us, "He is a friend that loveth at all times, and a brother is proved in distress." Nor does it matter that the object of affection be poor and outcast, but rather the more helpless and pitiable he is, the more attractive and solicitous is the friend. and in such circumstances is friendship proved as gold in the furnace, as the stout ship in the equinoctial gale. But is it possible to find a flower of so exquisite and delicate a texture among the rank flora of earth? Did the Creator, when He scattered the seeds of plant life on the third day of creation, include this exotic in His sowing? Friendship is the commonest of growths in the heart of man. God is most lavish of His best and most useful and necessary gifts. What is less needed, He hides beneath mountains or plunges under the sea. Friendship is everywhere, but it reaches its perfection of growth only in generous natures. Splendid examples of it are scattered through history, and are conserved in sacred and profane literature. Jonathan's soul was knit to David's, Ruth would not leave Naomi, and Paul never forgot his spiritual son Timothy. We still weep today over Virgil's touching account of Nisus and Euryalus, while we wonder at the intimacy of the two dissimilar characters, Blessed Thomas More and Erasmus. Ignatius of Loyola, by his friendship for Francis Xavier, gave an apostle to the Indies. Francis and Clare were like brother and sister, and Teresa and John of the Cross almost turned Spain into a monastery. End of chapter 2.